Welcome back to Your Money and Rights. I'm Ryan. In our last video, we broke down how the S-Corp election can save you $7,000, $10,000, even $15,000 or more every single year in self-employment taxes. Now what? How do I actually do this? And that's exactly what we're covering today. This is your complete step-by-step roadmap to setting up an S-Corp the right way, including the requirements, the timeline, the costs, the common mistakes that could get you in trouble with the IRS, and exactly how to work with your accountant or tax professional. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to do next. Let's dive in. Chapter 1, the eligibility checklist. Before we talk about how to set up an S-Corp, we need to make sure you actually qualify. The good news? Most self-employed people do qualify, but there are some specific rules. Requirement 1, you must have a legal business entity. You can't elect S-Corp status as a sole proprietor operating under your own name. You need to have either an LLC, limited liability company, or a corporation C-Corp that you'll convert. Most of you watching this probably already have an LLC. If you don't, you'll need to form one. First, we'll talk about that in a minute. Requirement 2, you must be a U.S. citizen or resident. S-Corps are only available to U.S. citizens and residents. If you're on a work visa or non-resident alien, this won't work for you. Requirement 3, you can't have more than 100 shareholders. This isn't an issue for most small businesses, but the IRS limits S-Corps to 100 shareholders maximum. Requirement 4, you can only have one class of stock. Again, for most small business owners, this is automatic. You can't have preferred shares, common shares, different voting rights, etc. Requirement 5, the math must make sense. Remember from the last video, this really starts to pay off when you're making $60,000 plus in profit. Below that, the administrative costs might outweigh the savings. If you check all these boxes, you're good to go. Chapter 2, the formation process. Let's walk through the actual process. Step 1, form your LLC if you don't already have one. If you're currently operating as a sole proprietor, just doing business under your own name, you need to form an LLC first. This process varies by state, but generally, go to your Secretary of State's website, file Articles of Organization, sometimes called a Certificate of Formation. Pay the filing fee, typically $50, $500, depending on your state. Wait for approval, usually 1 to 2 weeks. States like Wyoming, Delaware, and Nevada are popular for LLCs. But most people should just form in the state where they live and do business. Cost, $50, $500 one time. Time, 1 to 3 weeks. Step 2, get an EIN, Employer Identification Number. Even if you already have an LLC, if you've been operating as a single member LLC taxed as a sole proprietorship, you might not have an EIN yet. You need one for an S-Corp. Good news, this is free and takes about 10 minutes. Go to irs.gov. Search for Apply for EIN online. Fill out the SS4 form online. Get your EIN instantly. Cost, free time, 10 to 15 minutes. Step 3. File Form 2553 S-Corp election. It's called Form 2553, election by a small business corporation. This is the big one. This is the actual form that tells the IRS, hey, I want to be taxed as an S corporation. Now, here's something critical about timing. The deadline rules. If you want your S-Corp election to take effect for the current tax year, you must file Form 2553 no more than 2 months and 15 days after the beginning of the tax year, or at any time during the preceding tax year. In plain English, for most businesses operating on a calendar year, January, December, if you want S-Corp status for 2026, you need to file by the 15th of March 2026. If you miss that deadline, your election won't take effect until 2027. Important note, you can request late election relief if you have reasonable cause for missing the deadline, but don't count on it. File on time. How to file Form 2553. You can mail it or fax it to the IRS. There's no online option currently. The form itself is only 2 to 4 pages, but here's my strong recommendation. Work with a CPA or tax professional for this. Yes, you could do it yourself, but this is one of those situations where paying $300, $500 to have a professional do it right is worth every penny. Cost, free to file or $300, 5500 if using a professional time. Processing takes 60 days on average. Chapter 3, setting up payroll. Here's where things get real. Once you're an S-Corp, you're no longer just transferring money from your business account to your personal account whenever you feel like it. You have to pay yourself a W-2 salary through an actual payroll system. Why this matters? Remember bucket A from the last video, your salary? The IRS requires you to pay yourself a reasonable salary for the work you actually do, and that salary has to go through official payroll with regular paychecks, usually bi-weekly or monthly, payroll tax withholding, federal, state, Social Security, Medicare, quarterly payroll tax filings, Form 941, annual W-2 forms. Unemployment insurance varies by state. What is reasonable compensation? This is the biggest question everyone has. The IRS doesn't give you an exact number, but they say your salary should reflect what you would pay someone else to do your job. Some guidelines. Research your industry. What do people in similar roles make? Use sites like Glassdoor, Salary.com, or Bureau of Labor Statistics. The 60/40 rule. Many CPAs suggest paying yourself 60% as salary and taking 40% as distribution. This isn't an IRS rule, but it's a reasonable starting point. Document your reasoning. Keep notes on how you determined your salary. If the IRS ever questions it, you want to show you did your homework. Example, you make $100,000 profit. You pay yourself $60,000 salary, W-2. You take $40,000 as distributions. Setting up payroll. You have 3 options. Option 1, do it yourself. Not recommended unless you really know what you're doing. Lots of deadlines, tax calculations, filings. Option 2, use payroll software. Gusto, $40 month plus $6 per employee. QuickBooks Payroll, $45 month plus $5 per employee. ADP, Paychex, OnPay, similar pricing. These services handle everything: calculations, tax filings, W-2S, direct deposit. Option 3, full service accountant. Some CPAs will run your payroll for you. Cost, $100, $200 a month typically. My recommendation, use Gusto or QuickBooks. They're affordable, user-friendly, and handle all the compliance automatically. Cost, $500, $1,500 per year. Time, 1 to 2 hours to set up, then 15 minutes per pay period. Chapter 4, ongoing requirements and compliance. Once your S-Corp is up and running, there are ongoing requirements you need to stay on top of. Quarterly requirements. 1. Estimated tax payments. Remember, your distributions bucket B don't have taxes withheld automatically. You need to make quarterly estimated tax payments to cover the income tax on those distributions. Deadlines: April 15, June 15, September 15, January 15. 2. Payroll tax deposits. If you're using payroll software, this is usually automatic, but you're responsible for depositing payroll taxes either monthly or semi-weekly, depending on your tax liability. 3. Form 941 quarterly payroll tax return. Due the last day of the month following each quarter: April 30, July 31, October 31, January 31. Again, payroll software handles this automatically. Annual requirements. 1. Form 1120, S-Corp tax return. This is your business tax return. Due March 15 each year or September 15 if you file an extension. Note, even though the S-Corp itself doesn't pay taxes, you still have to file this return. 2. Schedule K-1. This form shows your share of the S-Corp's income, deductions, and credits. It flows to your personal tax return from 1049. Your CPA will prepare this as part of your 1120S. 3. W-2 forms. You must issue yourself a W-2 by January 31 each year, showing your salary and tax withholdings. 4. State requirements. Some states have franchise taxes, annual reports, or other filings for S-Corps. Check your state's requirements. The bottom line: yes, there's more paperwork than a simple sole proprietorship. But we're talking about 4 to 6 extra hours per year of administrative work to save $7,000, $15,000 plus. That's an hourly rate of $1,000, $2,500. Worth it? Absolutely. Chapter 5. Common mistakes to avoid. Let's talk about the mistakes that can get you in trouble. Mistake 1. Paying yourself $0 salary. Some people think, if I pay myself $0 salary and take everything as distributions, I'll avoid all self-employment tax. Wrong. The IRS will hit you with penalties, back taxes, and interest. You must pay yourself a reasonable salary. Mistake 2. Paying yourself too low a salary. Let's say you make $150,000 and you pay yourself a $20,000 salary, taking $130,000 as distributions. The IRS will see right through this. $20,000 is not reasonable compensation for someone generating $150,000 in revenue. They'll reclassify your distributions as salary and charge you back taxes plus penalties. Mistake 3, mixing personal and business expenses. Once you're an S-Corp, you need to be extra careful about keeping business and personal expenses separate. Separate bank accounts, business and personal. Separate credit cards. Clear documentation for every business expense. The IRS scrutinizes S-Corps more closely than sole proprietorships. Mistake 4, missing the March 15 deadline. Remember, if you want S-Corp status for the current year, you need to file Form 2553 by March 15. Miss it, and you're stuck waiting until next year, unless you can prove reasonable cause. Mistake 5, not keeping corporate records. Even though you might be a one-person S-Corp, you still need to maintain board meeting minutes. Yes, even if it's just you. Corporate resolutions for major decisions. Stock certificates. Operating agreement or bylaws. Why? Because if you ever get audited or sued, the IRS or a plaintiff's attorney will try to pierce the corporate veil, argue that your S-Corp isn't really a separate entity. Keep those records. Mistake 6, doing this without professional help. Look, I'm all for DIY when it makes sense, but this is your taxes. This is serious money. Hire a CPA who has experience with S-Corps. Yes, it'll cost you $1,500, $3,000 per year for tax preparation and advice. But they'll save you way more than that in optimizing your salary versus distribution split, maximizing deductions, keeping you compliant, protecting you in an audit. Chapter 6, working with your accountant. Let's talk about how to actually work with a tax professional on this. Finding the right CPA. Not all accountants are created equal. You want someone who, 1, has S-Corp experience. Ask directly, how many S-Corp clients do you have? 2, is proactive, not reactive. You want someone who calls you with tax-saving ideas, not someone who just files your return. 3, understands your industry. A CPA who works with other consultants, freelancers, or business owners in your field will know industry-specific strategies. Questions to ask in your first meeting. Based on my income, does an S-Corp make sense for me? What would you recommend for my salary versus distribution split? What are the total costs I should expect? Their fee plus payroll plus other. What records do I need to keep? How do we handle estimated tax payments? What happens if I'm audited? What to expect cost-wise? Initial S-Corp setup, $500, $1,000, $500. Annual tax preparation, 1120. S plus personal return, $1,500. $3,000. Ongoing consulting questions, often included, or $150, $300 hour. Payroll processing, if through CPA, $1,200, $2,400 year. Total first year cost, $3,000, $55,000. Total ongoing annual cost, $2,000, $54,000. Remember, if you're saving $7,000, $15,000 per year, Spending $3,000, $4,000 on professional help still leaves you with $4,000, $12 in your pocket. Chapter 6, Working with your accountant. Let's talk about how to actually work with a tax professional on this. Finding the right CPA. Not all accountants are created equal. You want someone who, 1, has S-Corp experience. Ask directly, how many S-Corp clients do you have? 2, is proactive, not reactive. You want someone who calls you with tax-saving ideas, not someone who just files your return. 3, understands your industry. A CPA who works with other consultants, freelancers, or business owners in your field will know industry-specific strategies. Questions to ask in your first meeting. Based on my income, does an S-Corp make sense for me? What would you recommend for my salary versus distribution split? What are the total costs I should expect? Their fee plus payroll plus other. What records do I need to keep? How do we handle estimated tax payments? What happens if I'm audited? What to expect cost-wise? Initial S-Corp setup, $500, $1,000, $500. Annual tax preparation, 1120. S plus personal return, $1,500. $3,000. Ongoing consulting questions, often included, or $150, $300 hour. Payroll processing, if through CPA, $1,200, $2,400 year. Total first year cost, $3,000, $55,000. Total ongoing annual cost, $2,000, $54,000. Remember, if you're saving $7,000, $15,000 per year, spending $3,000, $4,000 on professional help still leaves you with $4,000, $12 in your pocket. Chapter 7, the decision framework. Let's wrap this up with a simple decision framework. Should you elect S-Corp status? Yes, if you're making $60,000 plus in net profit after business expenses. You're a US citizen or resident. You have or can form an LLC. You're willing to run payroll and handle extra paperwork. You plan to continue your business for at least 2 to 3 years. Maybe, if you're making $40,000, $60,000, run the numbers with a CPA. Your income fluctuates significantly year to year. You're planning to sell your business soon. No, if you're making less than $40,000 in profit. You're in your first year of business and income is unpredictable. You're not willing to handle the administrative requirements. You're planning to shut down the business soon. Conclusion. Look, here's the reality. The S-Corp election isn't magic. It's not a loophole. It's not sketchy. It's a completely legal, IRS-approved tax strategy that millions of small business owners use every single year to save thousands of dollars. But like any powerful tool, you need to use it correctly. You need to understand the requirements. You need to stay compliant. You need to work with professionals who know what they're doing. And if you do those things, you'll stop voluntarily overpaying the IRS and start keeping more of your hard-earned money. Your money, your rights, your future. If this video helped you, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below telling me, are you going to make the S-Corp election? What questions do you still have? I read every comment, and your questions might become our next video. Thanks for watching. Now go take action. I'll see you in the next one.